Well, hey, friends. Welcome to the Everyday Mulemanship Podcast. I'm Ty Evans and coming to you today from home. It's been a little while since we've been in the Freightliner studio, but won't be long. We'll be back on the road and we'll be doing that. Today, I got a awesome guest on, Angie Mayfield from Illinois. And Angie's been all over the world. In fact, I think she's been to 50 states and 7 different countries riding mules and horses. So I'm excited to talk to her. She writes for Mules and More magazine. Been doing that for a long time. That's how I found out about Angie, and excited to talk to her and visit with her. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing sponsors that make this podcast free for you to listen to. We got Roman Home Tents. If you're like me, you like to camp, hunt, fish, pack, get out there, you got to have a Roman Home Tent to do it. Look them up, romanhome.com. Also, big thanks to Mules and More magazine, as well as Western Mule magazine. Both those magazines are my favorite mule magazines. Got to read them. In fact, I write for Western Mule magazine every month. So be sure to check them out. Also, a huge shout out to Diamond W Enterprises. They've been taking care of this podcast and taking care of mares for a long time. So if you're looking for a good jack to breed your mare to, better look them up. They do a good job. And last but definitely not least is Colt Saddlery. Check out Colt if you're looking for a good mule saddle or horse saddle, doesn't matter. They do a great job. So be sure to check out Colt Saddlery. Oh, and I almost forgot. Better not forget one. Boyd Ranch Mule Days, which is coming up pretty dang quick. It's a great mule days. We have so much fun there. Concerts, trail riding. They got competitions, all sorts of fun stuff. So check out Boyd Ranch Mule Days. It's a dang good time. And with that, I have one more request. If you would be so kind, um, leave this podcast a review if you don't mind. Tell us what you think. Let us know how you like it. And if you wouldn't mind sharing this, maybe on social media, and being, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. That'd be awesome as well. And let's get to Angie Mayfield. All right, Angie, we are recording, and thanks for doing this for me.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, well, I have actually a really huge list of people that I want to have on my show, and there's only so much time to get people in. But you've been on there for a couple of years, really, and I read all your articles in Mules and More magazine, so
Thank you.
I love
Appreciate
that.
that.
How long you been writing for Mules and More now? Long
Oh,
time.
2011. Yes. Yeah, a long time.
Geez,
Yeah,
that
I
is a
enjoy
long
it.
time.
I remember I submitted an article in 2011, and Sue, Sue is alive, and she said, "I just love your writing. You could write for us anytime, and gosh, you take such great pictures." I'm like, "Well, I was a journalist for years." I'm like, "Well, I'll write for you every month if you want." She goes, "Really? Well, we really can't afford to pay you." I'm like, "Oh, I don't care. I just enjoy doing it. I travel and love writing about my meals and places I go. So I've been doing it for free for how long now?" So yeah. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, it must be nice. You get, do that, and you probably get money off your taxes. You do." I'm like, no, no, I just do it for free. It's just for fun. I just enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people love your articles and love seeing all your adventures. I know I do. I'm jealous of you. You get to go a lot of places. You always put your little end tag on there, and it's there's one of them I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you said you'd been to like 50 country or 50 all 50 states in 7 different countries. Is that right?
Yes, yes. I've trail ridden in all 50 states and 7 countries, and it's kind of a goal. My first husband was killed in an auto accident in '99, and he was one of these. We never went on vacation. It's like, oh, we got the rest of our lives to do that, but the rest of our lives, and I hear that so much, and you really don't. Life's short, and I think I just decided that I was going to travel. I think growing up, we always had mules, and we always trail rode, but we never. We lived in Indiana, and the furthest we ever went was Kentucky or Tennessee, mainly for my dad's coon hunting tournaments, or to trail ride. I don't think until I was 30 ever been out of those 3 states, you know? And, then I started working for Homeland Security, and I traveled a lot, and we'd have downtime. I'd teach a 2-hour class, and then I'd have the rest of the day, and so I went looking for people with mules, and I would go and try to do some trail riding, while I was in all these states. But then I started, taking my own mules, and Sonny, my little spotted mule, he's trail ridden in 42 states, and the
Nice.
rest I rode other people's mules, or occasionally one of my others. But he's kind of my standby, and like me, he's getting old now, and I don't travel with him as much, but he still rides, the Shawnee, quite
Mhm.
often. He's a good little mule.
Heck yeah.
I can remember taking him to New Mexico, and I pulled him out of the trailer, and those guys, it was a packing clinic, Paul Garrison and Paul Decker, a bunch of them. And they're like, well, that little mule won't make it 2 days here, And my God, he doesn't even have shoes on. What are you thinking? This place is rocky, treacherous. I'm like, well, you haven't seen Sonny in action. After a week, they all wanted to buy him. They said, "My God, he's part mountain goat." So yeah, Sonny and I've been everywhere. And Tucker, gosh, everybody's watched him grow up. He's 15 now, and he's trail ridden in 41 states. And so he's been on quite the adventures since he kind of like me, since he could sit up, he was on a mule.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. So, I want to go back to you said your dad did coon hunting contests. Is this like where the red fern grows stuff? Like
Very
that type of
much.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why, yeah, Doug and I are just so, such a good couples, because we're both teachers, but we're also both just educated rednecks. And he grew up coon hunting too, and his favorite books were The Red Fern Grows. So it's like, we
Mhm.
have a lot in common. But yeah, my dad, we always had mules and horses. We had pulling mules. And I'm actually a sixth generation mule owner and rider. And my great grandpa, grandpa, dad, and uncles all pulled mules. They had drafts and they had the smaller mules, and went to lots of pulling competitions. And so we always had mules, but we also used mules around the farm for, the garden and pulling logs, but also coon hunting. And I always swore that I was one of the mules, because they'd have me pack down carrying stuff from the time I could walk. And they would go to the edge of the woods, stand around, drink wild turkey and bullshit, and about who had the best dog, the most women, And here I was, me and petting the mules, and carrying stuff. And one night,
Mhm.
they because I was the lightest, they had me go across a frozen river, to get a dog. Well, I fell in. They dragged me out. And then one night they forgot me next to a beech tree. I fell asleep, and they got home and realized, where's that girl? Sent the dogs back to find me, and I was asleep with an inch of snow on my sock cap. So yeah, I was a treasured child.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you grew up with some pretty cool adventures though. I mean,
Oh yeah,
not very many kids get to grow up like that these days. I mean, it's no
that's
way.
true.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes you tough, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. We didn't have cell phones and
Yeah.
computers and video games, but gosh, we were always busy and having fun outside, and playing cowboys and Indians, and building forts, and shooting the heads off snapping turtles at the river, something all the time. Trail riding, and nobody worried about us, as long as you're home by dark. And we're building my own tree house, and I was always riding my mule around bareback, and would hoist. I made a little pulley system, would hoist up baby pigs and raccoons and kittens to my tree house. And yeah, so I, I'm a little different than most girls.
Well,
Yeah.
I built tree houses, but I can honestly say I never built a hoist, to lift up a hog.
Well, you're missing out.
Hoisting up there, make your own bacon or just to hang out with your pal?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic now, because well, we're getting ready to butcher some hogs this weekend.
Yeah,
We raise them. I love the babies, but I've been around farm life enough to know that, hey, when he's 300 pounds, we're gonna have to eat him. But
mhm.
occasionally, I do have a pet like Petunia right now. She's gonna raise babies. I can't eat her, so we run across that occasionally. And my husband had to quit coon hunting when he met me because I love the little critters and feed them most of the time. But but
Hmm.
I still occasionally will get a skunk or a coon, and we know that we have to get rid of it. It's eating all the cat food or the chickens or something.
Hmm.
So, I'm realistic enough to know I'm raised on a farm to know how it works. Yeah.
So you said you're sixth generation mule woman. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it
So
is.
that's
Yeah.
cool that you can
My
trace it back that far, you know. But I'm from Utah, and so genealogy is a big deal in Utah. I mean, you go to Utah, everybody can tell you their genealogy.
really.
Family's a big deal here.
Yeah.
But six generations, that's pretty dang cool. So you
It
said
is.
most
They
of
keep
them pull mules, right?
Yes, uh-huh. And trace it back to um John and Emma Windhorst that came over from Austria and Germany at age 14 and 15. And it was Emma Farr actually and John Windhorst. And they actually got married and moved to Tampico, Indiana, and had their own farm and mules. And but they died when they were 83 and 84, so they were together like almost 70 years. And he died of cancer, and 3 months later she just said, milk cows every day, um, always fed the animals for they ate, had bacon and eggs and sausage, all the stuff they say now will kill you that we eat. And but she just kind of sat down and grieved herself to death and died. But you're with somebody almost 70 years. But yeah, I grew up with mules, and rode on the front of my dad's horse until I was 3. And then he was going to buy me a horse when I was 4. And I said, no, I want a mule. And he's like, oh, those real mules don't ride good. You don't want a mule. Well, they're mean. Because he would always just have pulling mules, farm mules. Well, I had a favorite mule on the farm, Alfalfa. And I said, no, I want to ride Alfalfa. He goes, that mule doesn't ride. It's a pulling mule. Pack mule, he doesn't ride. And so one day I'm out there and I climb up the wood plank fence and called Alfalfa over. And he was so cute. He was sorrel and had hair that just erupted everywhere, and big eyes, and just loved me to death. And he came over the fence, and I just jumped on him and grabbed on his hair, and I think it surprised him as much as me. And he took off trotting across the field, and my dad screaming and cussing and chasing us. So after that, he let me ride Alfalfa. And so, I was riding mules long before they were cool, and got made fun of a lot growing up over being in. But I discovered something that people actually did a research study, and but I think a lot of people know, but it hadn't been proven, was that mules are more hypoallergenic than horses. I have severe allergies. I was love my animals, but I behold my cat and had the animals, but my eyes water, my nose running. I always had severe allergies, and the mules didn't bother me as much as the horses. Very, as long as I, washed my hands after a saddle and brushed and changed my clothes, I was fine. Whereas horses, I'd just be torn up, and I'm still like that. To a degree, we have horses, we breed mules, but they just smell stronger, their hair's different, more dander, and they bother my allergies more. So that was another reason I always rode mules.
Oh yeah. Talking about breeding and raising mules, you mentioned like your dad back in the day, talking about the mules and pulling mules, and they were bred really rough. It's the same thing out here, if you had your no account mare, you're like, well, I don't want to raise a horse out of her, then they're going to raise a mule out of her around here,
Yeah.
and it made some rank mules. You just wrote an article. I can't remember. I was just looking at a bunch of articles. What month was it? You just wrote about that raising
Yeah,
mules.
it's actually in this month's
Yeah, this
issue about
December. Yeah, December.
breeding to the right mare, because that makes a world of difference. People think, oh, they're worried about color, and they're worried about size. I get that all the time. They'll call me, well, how big's your jack? Oh no, I want a big one. It's just like, okay, they'll just bone density, et cetera. They're going to be usually slower, and if you're wanting a working mule, but you really want a more athletic, you don't want 12 hand jack, but 14 hand is a great size. But they're more worried about size and color instead of disposition. And I'm I want a mule that's willing to please, likes people, easygoing. If you breed them to a rank mare, you're going to get a rank mule, and sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. The baby, oh, it's kind of like our kids when they're toddlers and they're kind of ornery and doing stuff. We think, oh, that's cute. Once a mule or a kid, gets a little older and they're still, a brat, you're kind of, wait a minute, I can't handle this. So maybe I should have disciplined it more when it's younger. And I hear that all the time, and people will go, "Oh, well, it must have," they'll have a meal that's just did something really terrible, or it just has a really poor disposition. Well, it must have been abused, or it was a training. No, sometimes just like people, there's crazy meals, and they're just not, right. I don't know how to put it, but it's genetics, a lot of it, and so we need to breed, find a good jack, but also breed to the right mare. Breed to your best mare, not to the one that you don't think is good for anything else. Because unless you're just selling, breeding to sell them, which people do that. Uh, but if you're really wanting a good mule, then you need, breed it to a good mare. Size conformation, yes, but what about her temperament, her disposition, um, you know, um, her gait, a lot of things, you know, they really do get from the mare, and people just don't seem to pay enough attention to that, and or
Yeah,
their
I've
background. Oh, I bought this mule, and they don't know anything about it or its background. It's like, well, okay, but if it loves people and it's willing to please, that's a great start, and willing and smart, willing to learn, and can learn, intelligent and not mean. And ours, they don't have a mean bone in their body. We won't keep an animal in the place it's mean, and just it's just so much gonna make your life so much easier on down the road if it has a great disposition and it's intelligent.
oh yeah. I've seen a huge change in the breeding world, probably the last decade. I think I like to blame it on Jigs Loach back in 2000. What was it, 2015 or 16? He got that high cell meal at the Jake Clark's and made a big splash, in the industry with price, and it was really cool. It was one of the coolest moments in probably the mule industry's history when he sold that mule out there. And since then, the breeding programs have really improved because people are like, hey, you know what? We can actually make a good living here, raising some quality mules, and it was that time that I saw a huge influx of people changing things up, and I think that's kind of a marking point. And I love it because in my world, as a trainer and a teacher, it makes my life a lot easier having some better bred mules out there. It's way easier for me, versus
Definitely.
back in the day growing up. My dad trained for a living, and oh my gosh, it was just always rough. It was always rough. Mules had such a bad rap, especially in Utah. You did two things with mules
Scruffy
pretty
wants to
much.
say hi. I
Oh, hey, pup.
know. Hi. Scruffy wanted to say hi. He's been bugging me trying to get up here.
Yeah.
I think most people in the mural world know Scruffy. But yeah, I think also just people realizing that the versatility in mules and just the awareness out there and seeing them, people riding them now. And I'm still amazed that people, I'll be riding, people go, oh, is that a mule? I didn't know mules ride. And they're just amazed. And we try to let everybody ride them when we can and see how great they are. I mean, my uncle was always a horse, always made fun of me for riding a mule. He rides a mule now. Doug, when I met him, cattleman, he's like, he had no, he said, oh, equines, you can't even eat your mistakes. He more or less thought they were worthless. And then, and he'd had a couple horses and just not good experiences. And he likes the mules. He goes, I can see why you love the mules more, just the intelligence, the personality, the endurance. And so I think just that too is why meals are becoming more popular, is because, well, like you said, there's so many better breeding programs and better meals out there, but also people are now seeing more people riding and competing on mules and kind of catching the fever.
Yeah, people are riding them better too now. For so long, so many people just kind of plugged on them down the trail. or just pulled them or just packed them, you know. But now people are really putting some time into them and getting something handy out of them, you know. Uh, and you guys see a lot of mule people. You're there at Shawnee. Um, I got to do a clinic there at High Knob Campground. I was there what in October,
Over.
and
Mhm.
a lot of mules there. You guys are like in the heart of the, as far as the Midwest goes, the heart of the mule country of the Midwest, right there. You see a lot of people, don't you?
Yes, yes. I think there's a lot of mule riders in this area. And High Knob is kind of known as the mule camp. There's so many people who camp there with mules. And yeah, becoming a lot more popular. And so yeah, I think people are often surprised, but well, even the Grand Canyon, they come to resale in Tennessee and buy their mules. You know, we trail rode our mules rim to rim and back across the Grand Canyon, and even the rangers there were shocked at that. They said, "People don't bring their own stock here." We're just like, "Wow!" They were just amazed. Um, and But their endurance and they did fine. We started at the South Rim, went all the way down, had two pack meals, camped at the bottom, then went all the way across, went up to the North Rim, and and it was kind of treacherous. It wasn't unless you had really experienced animals. Some of those places, you had boulders sticking out and water coming down, shooting off the trail. Trails this wide, and
Mhm.
so it was really cool. But we had some rangers that stopped us, like, wow, we're just shocked we haven't seen anybody with their own stock here in years. And they even opened a corral up for us that they said hadn't been used in 25 years, and let us put our pack mules in there for the night when we went to the North Rim because it was just too narrow for packs. And but yeah, we're running into more and more people who are just amazed at at the meals, the number of them, people riding now, the quality of them, and just the versatility. They're just amazing animals.
So for that trip, you camped down at the bottom there, and you say there's corrals that you had to keep them in because the trail was too narrow for the packers, going back up on
Yeah,
the north
there's
side.
a few. Yeah, there's a few camps there. We camped at Bright Angel, and then we went on down to Cottonwood, and then we were going to go up to the North Rim, and we ran into these rangers, and it's like, oh, they said with those packs, you're just, you're not going to be able to do that. There's boulders that stick out on the North Rim because normally they don't have, there's a group of, they bring and people ride down just a short distance off the North Rim. They have short mule rides, but there's a section that nobody rides
Mm.
because it's just so hazardous. And they told us with the water coming out and the boulders sticking out and the trails, you're not going to be able to take pack meals up there. I'm like, well, okay, I guess we leave our stuff here. And they said, well, we got this corral that nobody uses. And they unlocked it for us and let it, we just kept our pack mules and gear there. And there was water, and there was actually a lot of grazing and that corral had grown up. So we were amazed that there was actually some grass at the Grand Canyon as well. So we just took the riding meals and went up to the North Rim, spent the night up there, and then rode back down the next day. And so that worked out really, really well. And it was just phenomenal trip. So kind of once in a lifetime thing. But yeah, we just had to file. You have to apply for a backcountry permit, give them your itinerary, pay a fee, 6 riders and meals maximum, and they have to approve it. We had to do 2 itineraries, and they approved one. And then they told us, we went in March, and so well, North Rim's nothing's open up there. Uh, that's fine. We don't need anything. But boy, it was cold. It was amazing. We went into March, and it's top of the South Rim. It was sleeting. You get to during the day, you get to the bottom, t-shirts, and then as soon as that sun goes down, you're in your long underwear in the tent, shivering. And then we go up to the
Mhm.
North Rim, the wind and the cold, and we thought we were going to freeze to death. So it's just amazing the different, temperature and terrain and but cool trip. We've done that a lot of times. Gosh, I went mountain lion hunting uh, up in New Mexico in the Gila, and another trip and it was in early December, the 15 degrees at night in a tent. Yeah, we about froze to death.
Yeah.
So yeah, but those cool adventures, yeah, you're gonna have some hardships and sacrifices, but hey, it's worth it. It's we've been to places that you can only get to by foot or mule, and that makes it worthwhile.
Oh, yeah, there's so many places out there to see. A lot of people don't know that about the desert. Everybody thinks about the desert like, "Oh, it's so hot." Well,
That's true.
it's like at my place, I've had such extreme temperature swings. I've on the in July, I've had ice on my water troughs, and then in
Wow.
the same day, it'll melt off, of course, and it'll be 85 the same day that there was ice on the water, and it's just this high desert country, we're at 6,000 feet, but all through there, yeah, yeah, there's so many people that freeze out here. They don't realize they're gonna.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's
Yeah.
like we go to Montana almost every year, and we're getting ready to go out there for a week over Christmas. But usually we go in July for about 3 weeks and ride in Bob Marshall Wilderness, and Kootenai's our favorite. And when it's 90 degrees and so humid you can't really breathe in Southern Illinois, we go to Montana, and up in the mountains, it's 30s and 40s at night, 60s and 70s during the day. And it's gorgeous. But we have to take your long underwear and cold, and depending on what part of the mountains. But we go up there and we trout fish and ride, and there's no service, and we just have a blast, and we see moose and grizzlies, and just enjoy it so much. I remember our son, oldest, second to the oldest, Josie, flew up there a few years ago for a week, and he wanted to see what all the hoopla was about, this riding we do up there, set up our wall tent and pack in. And he didn't come prepared at all. I ended up having to loan him long underwear, and he was kind of like the guy on Amityville Horror, where he just sat around the fire the whole time, stoking the fire. He was just freezing to death. That
Yeah.
was so funny. But he saw moose, and it was neat. He saw so much wildlife. But it was quite an adventure up there, and we cook trout over the fire, and we don't have need as much as people think. And I hear people, well, it must be nice spend a if be rich and spend a month in Montana. It's like, rich? No, we're not rich. We have livestock. What are you talking about? And we found out that we spend less in a month than most of these people do than a week in Florida. They get a condominium, they do all this. We take mostly our own food or catch it out there.
Mhm.
We have a wall tent. There's no electricity, so it's funny. It's our fuel and what little food we take is about our only expenses. But Josie and I were riding along on the Highline Trail up in Kootenai, and all of a sudden my phone, which hadn't worked for 2 weeks, pops on. It says, "Welcome to Canada." And he's like, "Oh my God, they know we're here. We're gonna try." And he was in his 20s. He was like going, looking for guards or walls. I'm like, there's none of that up here. He goes, "Hey, well, the apocalypse comes. We know how to get to Canada if we're invaded." But it was a good time. But it was, kind of showed me that, well, our lifestyle isn't for the faint of heart, or the weak, or someone
Yeah.
just somebody's not used to it. I think I hear a lot of people, "Oh, well, I'm going to take my, animal and go ride across the Grand Canyon, do this now." I'm like, "Oh, I know you. You're a fair weather rider. Your mule's a fat fair weather rider, and you better get them experience first." And it's kind of like we're training for a marathon. You really need to stay in shape and train to do those adventures too, because it's not it's fun and worthwhile, but it's not easy. And packing the Grand Canyon, oh my God, Doug, he said that's the hardest he ever worked in his life, he thinks, because he had to pack everything up. We had to, and take two of us to get it um, level and balanced and tied on, and then unpack it, and just back and forth, and it's a lot of work. It is, but
How many
we end.
miles is it from rim to rim?
I think it's like 60 some. Yeah.
Wow, and you guys did it in 4 days?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow,
We were,
that's awesome.
yeah. And we only had one really scary point there, and that was one of the pack mules got his halter caught up in the pack mule in front of him, and he slinged his head around, and they're caught up, and I mean, we're on a trail, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're both going to go over. And Doug's like, I have to do something, and he jumps off and he puts his pocket knife, opens his knife, and puts his knife in his mouth, and he's hanging along the ledge and climbs up, grabbing onto the mule, and cuts his halter off. And so then we knew we just followed the other one and left it off till we could get somewhere, and then had to crawl back, climb back across the ledge and get back on his mule. And so that was pretty hectic, pretty
I'll have to
scary.
call him
Yeah.
Indiana Jones with a knife in his
Yes.
mouth and or
Yes. It was,
pirate
yeah.
style, huh?
Yeah. His students used to call him Chuck Norris. he's
Oh yeah.
he's quite the survivalist. Yeah. But I think the only time I saw him really scared is I love bears. I love to see bears, And Doug, no, he's like 100 yards, 200 would be even better.
Hmm.
He does not like bears. And we were at Bob Marshall a few years ago, and we've been trying to get up this one trail to this Summit Lake for like 3 years, and it's so the Forestry Service doesn't take care of the trails. We take along, saws and things, and just kind of cutting the trail as we go. Well, the third year we thought we are going to get there. We get like half a mile from the lake, and there's like four giant pine trees across. He's like, we can't. He's like, and on one side you got a cliff, the other side there's just vegetation brush, and it's just too thick to get into. And he's like, we're not gonna be able to make it up there. I'm like, well, he said, let's see how far it is. So we stopped, and he climbs over the trees. He goes, I'm gonna walk up there and see how far it is. Maybe we can just hide the mules and walk up there, and I'll be back in a minute. He comes running back. He goes, get on your mule, get on your mule. I'm like, what? It's a grizzly, it's a bear up there. I'm like, and he goes, get on your mule now. Like, did you get a picture? Blank. No, I didn't get a picture. Get on your mule. It was funny. He said, he goes, his head's that big around, it's taller than I am on all fours. Let's get out of here. So we got out of there. But but I was, dang, I didn't get to see it. I didn't get a picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a little different at that aspect. But I've found that most of the time they're more scared of you than you are them. So on the way back, we saw like a deer carcass on the trail, and I'm like, "Look, that's about a week old. He's probably getting hungry." And he's like, "Shut up!" So I like to tease him about the bears, but it is dangerous, and you have to really be careful. And we always camp and put our food, 100 yards from the camp, and hang it up, and you just have to take precautions. And most of the time, as long as you don't scare them or get in between them and their babies, most of the time you're okay. But that narrow trail, if we'd have met him and scared him, it could have been bad. So
Yeah, I've had a few people on that ride the Bob quite a bit. I've only been once, so I can call it the Bob now. But
yeah,
before
yeah,
I wasn't qualified to call it that. So we rode out of the benchmark trailhead, and that's
uh-huh.
pretty country up there. Pretty
It
country.
is. It
So
is. It's
my
beautiful.
buddy, do you know Jeff Pace?
I do. I
Yeah,
do.
Jeff's
Yeah,
been
he's
on
a
the show.
character.
He's a good friend of mine for a long time, but he's packed out of there for years and years and years, and yeah, he doesn't even hardly blink at the Bears anymore. He doesn't care.
No. Yeah, when we first started packing, we had some friends that packed, and we learned from them, but we also learned from Jeff, and great guy and packer. So yeah, we go out to Benchmark a lot, but I think our favorite place we've started going into the Bob now is over by the Hoover Dam area, or near Hungry Horse. And you have to, drive like 30 miles,
Mhm.
treacherous road up and to get to that trailhead. But up by Spotted Bear Creek, there's a camp up there, and it's just another. So there's several places we go. You can get into Bob Marshall, but I think that's one of those are probably our two favorite. Is up by Spotted Bear, and then up by Benchmark. But just gorgeous area. But I think our favorite, because it's but there's a lot of I mean, for us, it's a lot. There's usually maybe 20 packers and people around. We like really secluded. I think our favorite's Kootenai because it's just so secluded. And the Ten Lakes recreational area on the Canadian border is just unlimited fishing and trails and just wildlife. And it's just hardly anybody there. And we just really enjoy seclusion. I have a lot of people like, hey, can you give me directions and trails and this to this trip you want to? No, you're welcome to come along, but we don't give our secret spots out or,
Mhm.
or tell people places to go. And a lot of times, shoot, we can't even, we just kind of go and explore. I don't think we've ever went anywhere with a guide. We always just have a paper map or and just go and have fun explore. And aren't you worried about getting lost? I said, well, you know, we have been lost for a couple days at the most, but it's like I don't know. I guess we're just built different, but that's part of the adventure, right?
Yeah. For me, it's funny how things change, in your life. What interests you? I used to love to put on the miles. Like I want to go see a lot of country, and these days, probably the last 5 years, all my trips are centered around fishing. Where
Yeah, there you
I love to fly fish. I'm not any good at it, but I love fly fishing,
go.
and so yeah, all my trips are like, okay, well, I'm gonna ride into this spot and go fish here. People always ask, "Well, so how many miles are you doing? You riding like 100 miles that week, or what are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I rode about 15 and I fished a lot."
Yeah.
You know?
And they don't understand too the terrain. It's like miles. It's like, how about hours in the saddle? But
Yeah.
because yeah, depending on the terrain, you can cover it. The mileage can vary enormously. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't judge it on that. I judge on, oh, what did I see and experience, and yeah, if Doug's gonna go, I got to find some fishing too. He loves to fish,
Does he
and
fly fish? Is that what he's into?
uh, yeah, we've started that, but it's funny. I think the first time we went, we got some laughs at us with our Zebco 33 pole. We broke 10 tick with us. But guess what? We were catching just as many trout. So it was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, we learned to fly fish and that is, yeah, that is just, it's an art and it's fun. But I still take along my, trusty little Zebco 33 too.
Mhm. I like fly fishing because it's so much like roping,
Oh,
I grew up
yeah.
grew up roping, and so,
Mhm.
it's always about a target and how to get that rope to that target. I'm like, "Oh, well, I can figure this out." I'm still working at it, but it's a lot of fun, and you know, uh, it's fun for me. Like we'll set up a base camp somewhere, and then we'll ride out every day, for different locations, and I love doing that. I used to love like pack. You plan out each day, you pick up camp and go every single day, and that is kind of unique, but I like the base camps now and riding out from there. It's a little easier and more fishing time for me. So that's what I'm into.
Yeah, as we've gotten older, we do that too. We've got a wall tent, Kootenai and Bob Marshall especially. There's just so many places you can ride, and we just set up a base camp, and then the mules, you know, and then just ride out for day. This day we're going this destination, and sometimes short rides, sometimes long rides, but sometimes that can turn into a lot much longer ride than you want. First year we decided we are going to go to the Chinese Wall. Well, the first year we didn't go. The second year we ended up Chinese Wall. Um, we took our pack mule. We're about, I don't know, 5 miles in, and came lame, and he was limping, had a stone bruise. So took him back to camp. Thought, well, I guess that adventure's over. We'll just day ride. Well, the next day out, we weren't really prepared. Just had snacks and a raincoat, and we took off riding, and we got, you know, pretty far, and we stopped to rest. And this hiker says, "Oh, well, Chinese, you're only about 7, 8 miles. It's not that far. You can make it there. In a few hours. You should go ahead and go." And I'm like, okay, well, you know me. Doug looks at me and goes, "We're going, aren't we?" Yeah. And Tucker's like, "Yeah, let's go." And he's like 6, and so we head out, and oh my gosh, seven, like I said, terrain 7 or 8 miles, and that terrain is a long time. But anyway, we got there at late evening, and so he took some pictures, explored a little bit, and then we saw a huge storm coming in. It's like, we got to get out of here. And we head back, and it was cold anyway. And we're heading back, and it started raining, then it turned to sleet, and it's just freezing. And in the meantime, I had lost or no, Tucker had lost his rain jacket off the back of his mule, his slicker. So I let him use mine, and when really in reality I should have just put him in front of me and wrapped around, but I didn't think about it. And it got colder and we're wet, and we got and we're probably an hour from camp, and I couldn't really hang on. I couldn't talk. I was like, Tucker goes, Dad, something's wrong with Mom. And so he got me down, tried to warm me up, and hypothermia was
Yeah.
setting in, and I was in bad shape. And then like, we just got to get back to camp in a hurry. So then Doug was pulling my mule, and then we had a bear chasing, and we could hear him and smell him coming through, and the mules were freaked out. And so here's Doug and Tucker going, "Oh, Susanna," and they're just singing loud. And I know anybody that met us on the trail would have swore we were all drunk, but anyway, it was quite an adventure. We ended up, but we went across one of the bridges crossing Sun River, and the bear left, thank goodness. And then we got back to camp about 1 a.m, and Doug stripped me down, put me in the truck, turned on the heat full blast, wrapped me in a blanket. And, within a couple hours, I was okay, but it was kind of a close call. So we decided, okay, no more of these. Oh, we can make it. And we don't have, we're not prepared, didn't have everything with us that we should have. But hey, we made it to the, but here's little Tucker. He's going, "You okay, Mom? Hey, we made it to the Chinese wall," and he's just all gung ho. So he was quite the trooper.
Heck
But he's
yeah.
like, "Next time, let's do it in like 3 or 4 days." I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be a good idea." Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to plan. Like there's something in our human mentality that it's hard to plan for different weather when you're in your current state. It's like here in Utah, it's already in the negatives. It's cold, snow, and I mean it's full on wintertime now. And I just did a clinic in Florida, and it's hard to imagine, okay, I'm going to Florida. You don't need your winter hat and your long johns and all this gear and all the, everything I need here. Or versus if I was in Florida coming back here to realize that, hey, it ain't 75 and sunny in Utah right now. You need to plan. But it's like that in the summertime too. There's been so many mornings on so many pack trips that you wake up and it's a clear blue sky and it just looks so nice. And by the afternoon, especially August, in the high country in August, man, you just plan for rain. It's going to come every afternoon in August, in this high country. It's going to rain. And it's crazy how much that temperature drops. Growing up out here, that was one of the weirdest things to me when I went different places. I would get so worried, in the summertime when storms would roll in because I'm like, oh, it's going to get cold. Like, get ready. It's going to be cold. And then I go hang out in Missouri or something, and the rain rolls in. I'm like, it's hotter now.
Yeah.
In the summer, it was such a weird. I'm like, it's hotter, and it just rained in Utah. Now we all got hypothermia, like you're talking about. We're freezing. It's just you got to be prepared for those things and kind of know the terrain for dang sure.
That's true. And you have to have a variety. But yeah, I think probably the most miserable I ever was, next to the hypothermia incident, was at Caney Mountain in Arkansas. It was June, and it's like, I told Bull, Anthony McAllister, we call him Bull, known him for years. It's like, I'm never going to the ride again in June. It was hot, and it just depends on the year too. But that year it was hot and it rained, and oh my God, we went out on a ride with Charles, and it poured so hard that our tack was just wet for days. Our boots were full of water. We were just soaked. I mean, it was just and hot and muggy, and it was just like, oh, this isn't fun, so certain states, it's like, oh, I only visit there in these months or whatever. But it's like a friend of ours in Montana will come and visit, and she says, a lot colder here than it is in Montana to her, and it's the humidity.
Yeah.
It's a bone cold, chilling cold, whereas there's more. So people are like, why would you go up into the mountains and Montana where it's cold and snow, and oh, we love the snow, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel as cold because there's no, very low humidity. So yeah, I've just learned, you always take along your rain slicker, and you always have, like a sweatshirt or wool pullover, something in the saddle bag, and a t-shirt, and extra socks. And so yeah, you just kind of learn you got to prepare, because anything's possible out on the trail. And that's for sure. We've experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Caney Mountain. I've never been down there, but Anthony, he was telling me about that. He said I need to get down there, and he invited me on his annual ride down there. You know, I can't make it, but that sounds like some cool country for
Oh,
that
it
area,
is.
huh?
Yeah, it's beautiful riding there too. It's similar to Shawnee. I always say that you know, a friend of mine loves Hocking Hills. I'm like, Shawnee is Hocking Hills on steroids. It's, it's they're both pretty, but Shawnee's a lot better. And then some people say that, um, Caney Mountain, is very similar, but a little bit better in some areas. So it just depends on where you go and things. But I found every place I went had something to offer. They're all beautiful in their own way, and some places are better than others based on the trails. But and it's what you prefer. I love um, extreme. I love the adventure and the extreme terrain, and I love mountains and water and wildlife. So I'm not as big on in Arizona was cool when I rode there in Superstition Mountains because of the wild horses and the cactus, and it was just something different. But it's like I love trees and water too much. I still prefer the Midwest and Montana and things. But we go to Northwest Montana; it's a lot prettier. But I think every state, you know, I've found something that is just beautiful. And then whether it was, and a lot of times it's the people you meet too that make an adventure more fun. But love the wildlife and love the extreme trails. But yeah, Montana's probably my favorite as far as the U.S. Overseas, Ireland was amazing. I loved riding there. But yeah, just had
How'd you line that out in Ireland? How did you figure out where to go? And I mean, like how do you even find
that
out
was
how to do that?
that was another adventure. Well, I was my alma mater. I was asked to teach at a writing conference there, and so went over there and for 10 days stayed in Lismore Castle, which was just amazing. But all the other writers and authors and students, and they stayed at the castle for 10 days. And I'm like, no way, I want to get out and explore. This is probably my only time to Ireland. So I rented a car that wasn't probably much bigger than my laptop here. It was
Hmm.
everything. The roads were very narrow, but they all have stone walls, and it's just cool. And you have to drive on the left side of the roads. So there was a steep learning curve the first couple days. It was suddenly I was the foreigner and they're flipping me off. So
Hmm.
and, but as a tourist I had to learn to drive on the right left side of the road, and I just went out exploring. I had a little map, and actually they're a lot better at doing their roads than us. It was just kind of like ABCD this way and this way. And I just, okay, I wanted to go to Dublin, but then I thought I want to be out in the rural areas, and I went down to Cork, and I drove along the coast and just explored. Well, I'm driving along, and I see this horse farm, and they're out there riding and jumping horses, English style. It's just these fancy Irish draft horses. Like, oh wow, I got to stop here. And I stopped, and everybody's just friendly. I think the hardest part in Ireland was the language. I mean, they spoke English, but it was the dialect was hard to understand. And
Yeah.
like gas is petro. So I about ran out of gas because they didn't know what I was asking for. And then you go to the petro station, and I'm like, where's the restroom? Well, it's called toilet. So just kind of learning the lingo, but everyone was very friendly. I stop at this horse farm, and they're like, you want to ride? Can you ride? Yeah, I'm right. I can ride. And they put me on a horse and let me ride. And we just had a blast. And then they're like, hey, we're going fox hunting Sunday. You want to go? Yeah, I want to go. And so I got to go fox hunting. They had the houndsmen and these, and
Nice.
it was wonderful. And we're jumping walls, and we're seeing, and they're just amazed that I could ride. But they have all these horrible stereotypes about Americans. It's just terrible. But anyway, then they're like, but I do think the stereotype about them being alcoholics is probably true, because I never saw, even on Sunday, anybody without a drink. We went pubbing on a Sunday, but we're jumping walls, and who can hold their flask and not spill it, and who can drink the most. But it was a good time. And then we finally um, corner the fox, and I'm like, are you going to shoot it? And they're like, no, it's illegal to kill animals in Ireland. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So and the guy was like, besides, what will we do next Sunday? So I think there was one fox, and hey, this is what we do on Sundays. We drink, we ride, and we chase a fox, and it was fun. And so that it was just such a surreal experience. And but yeah, cool time. And I was going to bring home this Irish draft mare, just gorgeous, that I rode. Because the only one I did at the time, this was 2013. They went 2,500 for. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm buying her. Well, then I found out the cost for shipping and quarantine, and it
Yeah.
was going to end up like 20,000
Mhm.
and 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, so I couldn't get her. But I was, yeah, kind of bummed because they had some beautiful cobs and Irish draft and um, what was the other one? I don't know, but just some gorgeous horses over there. And then I'm like, well, I can't leave Ireland without finding a mule. And I found a donkey sanctuary. And sadly, in Ireland, they think of mules as accidents and just worthless. And they had 6 mules there. And this weather kind of was helping me. His name was Patrick. And I'm like, I want to ride one of those mules. He's like, oh, they don't ride. I'm like, how do you know? He's like, well, I don't know, but you can't ride mules. And so I start educating. I spent all day there educating people on mules. And he finally admitted there was one mule that this old man had died that it was a big pet. And so I said, and he's like, well, I don't know if they'll let you do that. I said, well, we're way out here away from her. They're not going to know. So this mule was just real friendly. And I brought a whole sack of carrots and was feeding him. I said, will you hold him? And I grabbed his mane and I jumped on him and he started, and then he didn't do anything. So then I kicked and I rode this mule. I think that's one of the few times I've ever just got to ride one around a pasture. Usually I want to go trail riding, but it was like, this is it. So I rode this mule for an hour and just and got some great pictures as the evening set and just of those mules. But I just thought they were so lonely, and but I think it really educated Patrick on mules, and he promised to spend more time with them and feed them some carrots and pet them. And he was just kind of scared of them. He'd been told that mules are worthless and mean and sad that these discarded accidents were at this donkey sanctuary. But I finally found some mules in Ireland and gave them a little love.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you is did you find any meals? I'm glad you brought it up. That's pretty
Yeah.
neat. What other countries have you ridden in? So you've ridden in Canada and Ireland.
Mexico, the West Indies. I went out there at a friend's wedding, and we found a mule, and that was a little more hectic experience. That one wasn't as happy for me to ride it, and I, got bucked off once, and then the second time, but we had a good time. But and um, Bahamas, I
Mm.
get to ride along the beach there. Found a mule, and um, so went to quite a few places. I was going to go to Portugal just last month. I was supposed to teach at another writing conference, and then Doug ended up with Ehrlichia from a tick bite, and was in the hospital for 8 days, and it was very scary and dangerous. So I had to cancel that trip because I was looking for. I had it all planned. I had horseback riding on the beach. I had a farm I'd found with that had some mules I was going to visit. So that was unfortunate. I told Doug, you got sick on purpose just so I couldn't leave. But no, he was
Yeah.
definitely ill. Poor guy. And so we've been kind of a lot more worried. I think you probably saw the last article I wrote was about tick related diseases because they're becoming more prevalent. And so that was pretty scary. But I had a lot of cool adventures finding mules in other places. Alaska, we went to. I called ahead because I found these Facebook friends that had mules. Called, hey, I'm coming to Alaska. Can I ride your mule? Oh, it doesn't ride. It's just kind of a pasture pet. Like what? Like, some, we have some retirees that have earned their place on the farm, but most of the time we don't keep anything as a pasture pet. It has to.
Mhm.
So I had a hard time. I finally called this place that did horseback rides, and I was like, "Do you have any mules?" And like, "Well, we've got a couple, but they're just pack mules." I'm like, "Do they ride?" "Well, I don't think so." I said, "Could you find out? Let me know." So he calls me back, and he said, "Well, one," he said, "sort of rides, not real well. The other one, no, he's bucked off everybody here. He can't ride him." Like, okay, we'll give the broke one to Doug, and then I'll take the other one. And he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to meet you. You're nuts." I was like, So we get over there and they're lined up and we rent these meals for the day. Festus and gosh, I can't remember the other one's name. But anyway, I feed them, pet them. We probably spend a half hour just, just trying to bond with them a little bit. And I get on that meal and it humps all up and then it just rode out. And you could just see the disappointment in those guys, like, oh damn. I really wanted to see it show.
They wanted to see you
But
go for a bronc ride, huh?
they really did. It was funny. It was like, but we rode them, and yeah, they weren't really good riding mules, but we wanted, had to ride a mule, and we went and looked at a couple glaciers and along the river. But this was up by Palmer, Alaska, is where we found the mules, in case anybody's interested. But I was the only meals, but I'm always amazed how hard it is to find meals. So we mainly take our own, and people are like, I can't believe you travel that much with meals. That must be hard. And they're not really. I mean, we stop and check them, give them food and water, but they're pretty durable and used to it. And like old Sonny and I don't travel with him anymore. He's like 28 now. And in June, Doug's mule, she's 31, 32. So those two we've kind of retired and just limited them to riding in the Shawnee. So we take younger ones, but we travel all over. And that way you've got your mules. Sorry, the dogs. That way you've got your mules. How they ride, and the older we get, the less likely we want to get hurt or do those bronc rides. So a little safer. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I enjoy my meals and traveling with them and going to as many places as I can. There's so many places I still want to go. Still want to make it to Portugal and New Zealand, but there's so many places in North America that I still want to go. Even though I've ridden all 50 states and several places in each state, there's still so many places I'd really like to visit and never be able to make them all. But I just enjoy traveling and riding in new places, meeting new people, and just having new adventures.
Yeah. I would like to go to New Zealand as well.
Mhm.
A good friend of mine, Ben Longwell, he's a clinician as well and a trainer and a teacher down there. And he spends his winters down there. That's where his wife is from. And so I'll have to get you hooked up with him. You go down there and he'll find you some mules to ride down there.
Oh, I'd
He's
love
not
that.
particularly a mule guy, but he has a lot of
Yeah.
students down there that do have mules. And
Oh, awesome.
we have a lot of friends down there. I got a few students that like are in our master class and stuff that are in New Zealand. So there's mules down there. It's pretty cool.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's just pictures I've seen. It's just beautiful, and so that's just kind of a unique place I've always wanted to go. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of snakes and things, and so Australia, yeah, I'd like, but yes, it's like I don't know. I think New Zealand, same beautiful territory, but not quite as treacherous as
Yeah,
far as
I've been to Australia a few times, doing clinics and stuff. And first time we went out on a trail ride, and we were in Victoria. So Victoria, it reminds me a lot of like Washington, like the coast in Washington State. It's wet and kind of really green and they're telling me all about these tiger snakes. We just got to watch out for the tiger snakes here. I'm like, okay. And anyways, we come across one and like, oh, there it is. I'm like, holy cow, that the thing is huge. I mean, it was huge to me. I'm from Utah, so we got plenty of rattlesnakes, but our rattlesnakes are like 2 feet long. I mean, that's a good size one in Utah. We don't get big snakes here. And this thing was big. Like, oh mate, that's just a little one. That's just a little guy.
oh
I'm like,
wow,
oh my gosh, I don't want to see a big one then. But
no, I
Sky
don't.
was terrified of the spiders. Sky hates spiders. I don't like snakes, and so we were on the lookout. But that's the only one I ever saw. So we did all
I'm
right, I
used to
guess.
lots of spiders because I'm usually guiding trails and in the front, and they're all hitting me in the face on here.
Yeah.
But the big ones there, yeah, I would be scared. But I don't like snakes either. But we see a lot of copperheads, a few rattlesnakes here. And Tucker and I killed a 5-footer years ago. He was just little, and it was on middle of the trail and striking at us, and so we killed it. And I cut his head off, and he put it around his neck, and he came back into High Knob camp, and he was just so proud. People were freaking out, and then they're like, "Oh well, those are protected. you could get arrested. I'm like, well, if they're going to arrest a woman and a little boy for killing a snake striking us on the trail, go for it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like snakes. And it was so funny though. Um, one of the first times we rode in Montana, our friends the Westons up there, Jenny was like, oh well, we don't have snakes around here. We haven't been riding 15 minutes. There's a little snake goes across the trail. I'm like, what the hell is that? She goes, oh my God, I've never seen. She lived there for years, never seen one. Our first time on the trail, there it goes. Like, okay. But
Yeah.
they're harmless there. They don't have the venomous snakes like we do. So that's been something, but yeah, Doug doesn't like bears. I don't like snakes, but we get by and we still see a lot of them and just again, precautions. I do worry about Scruffy. They do have a vaccine now, but I've been told by my vet that it's not really, he wouldn't recommend it. So I haven't, so I probably worry more about him and the mules than I do us, because most of the time we're on the mule. So, but yeah, we see a lot of snakes here. But yeah, New Zealand would be cool. There's quite a few countries I'd still like to visit. Italy and Germany. Most of my ancestors are German, French, and Native American. So I'd like to, a lot of places I'd still like to go, but we haven't traveled as much since we moved to the Shawnee, because we bought this farm that borders the forest, and we just had a lot of work to do here, and when you can ride right off your property, that
Yeah.
it's really cool.
So are you guys pretty close to High Knob there?
Yeah, we're 5 miles south of Pine Knob.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're pretty close to the River Trail, the Old River. So we have trails. We do guided trail rides in the summer and on the weekends. Because I moved down here, and I ride so much, and it's always like people calling, "Hey, do you do guided trail rides?" And I didn't. And then JoJo would call me occasionally and say, "I've got somebody here that would like a guide," and I didn't realize there was only one other place that does guided trail rides, and they're really expensive, and they only had horses, and they put you line you up, and it's like, so we try to do more personalized. They're on the mules, and don't take out usually more than four, um, and kind of give them a tour of the Shawnee and go to different places, and it's fun. And so and Tucker's been doing that. That's kind of become his summer job, is doing guided trail rides, and they like him. He gets a lot bigger tips than we do. I don't know why, but he's cute.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what's your next adventure? You got something planned for this coming up summer, or where are you going next?
We're gonna go to Montana because we didn't get to go last year. Broke my back last year, and I was and yeah, lot of damage, and not on a mule wreck, on a fall, but I was in pretty bad shape last year,
Jeez.
and didn't get to ride for like 4 months. So we're going to Montana this year, and next July. We're going next week just to visit and play in the snow and stuff, but maybe do a day ride. But next July we're going to go for a few weeks and pack in, probably the Bob Marshall again. And but we usually every year try to pick a new place on the way there, the way back, that we haven't been before. Like one year we went to Teddy Roosevelt. We went to Bryce Canyon, and we just go to different places every year. That we try something new, that we ride a few days on the way back. So I haven't decided. So you open for suggestions of great places to ride on the way. Obviously been to Mount Rushmore in that area, South Dakota several times, but trying to looking for
Yeah,
something new.
Yeah, you go through a lot of great country to get to Montana. So there's some cool stuff along the way, no doubt. So you said you've been to Bryce. Have you rode anywhere else in Utah?
Just Bryce and Arches. It was kind of funny. We went to Arches National Park, and we pull up and we say, "Is there any equine trails here?" And the woman's like, "I don't really know." I said, "Well, is it allowed to ride here?" She goes, "I'm not sure." I said, "Well, I'm going to take that as a yes." So we just ride our mules randomly around Arches. People look at us like, "Is that really allowed?" So, kind of learned on some of those public land, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. If they don't know, I figure if the ranger doesn't know, then, it's open. So,
Yeah,
so
the
that's
ranger's not
always
going to
kind
tell
of, so that's always kind of cool. But no, forget somebody's ranch out there I rode on. I can't remember, but Arches, Moab, that area, and
Hmm.
Bryce Canyon, and but yeah, there's a lot of I'm sure better. More places to ride in Utah that we haven't gone. But Bryce
Yeah.
Canyon is pretty cool. It was beautiful. Yeah.
The hard part about Utah is if you don't really know where you're going, it's hard to get there because there's not like public trails. Utah is what, it's over 70% public lands.
Yeah.
So the most of the state's public lands, but there's not a whole lot really relative to other states like organized or, you know,
Yeah.
established trails. It's just kind of like, well,
That's the way
you want to ride there? Okay,
Montana.
we'll go, just go ride, and
Right.
when
Yeah.
you're telling
And
somebody about it, you can't really even, you have to like give them a drop pin to even know where to go because you can't even describe it. There's not signs, there's no camps, there's no, things like that. It's just, well, just go right there.
yeah,
So,
that's the way we like it. That's the way Montana is too. There's
yeah.
not a lot of you just have to find your places. And I found that locals are your best resource. Like we went to Montana, Augusta. We were going to go in Benchmark there where you went in, and Augusta is a cool little cowboy town, and there's a great restaurant bar there. We always stop and have a cheeseburger and a beer and sit and visit with the locals. And we met this I know like three people named Jim Lee, but there was this old guy, he's in his 80s, named Jim Lee, who had been an outfitter and packer there for years. And we sat and talked to him and learned about all these cool little places to ride. And we went to Scapegoat Wilderness and he was all these trails, and he just showed us on a map this is a great place to ride. And, oh, this is beyond. Oh, if you want to see a lot of elk, you go here. And I learned more in 2 hours from that guy about where to go, what to do, and see and place to see. Now he didn't warn us about some of the roads. The roads treacherous in Montana, and that's why we always take our old Featherlight trailer, because you rip the bottom out of a living quarters trailer in most
Yeah.
of the places we go. But we learn a lot from the locals about where to go and cool places to ride that most people have never seen. And so yeah, I'm going to have to now pick your brain about Utah, some more
Yeah.
places to ride. Yeah,
It's
but
the
we
same
went
thing
to
in Utah
Buckskin
about
Gulch.
the,
Go
what'd
ahead.
you say?
I said, but like Buckskin Gulch, I've been
Hmm.
told was beautiful. So we went there, and oh my God, the day we went, it was hot and windy and dusty, and we ate more dirt that day, and it was just
Hmm.
brutal. And it was pretty, but we did not have a good time. So sometimes you have to, find out best time to play. Time of year to go to a place too, because sometimes that can really change your enjoyment of it. Like, I love Caney Mountain in the early spring, late fall, but summer it's not. Missouri and Arkansas is rough in the summer,
Yeah.
and so I'm sure Utah is the same way. There's certain places that you need to know when to go to.
Oh yeah, it makes a difference. I mean, well, Utah is just harsh. Utah is just harsh country. The whole Great Basin is harsh. It's not. I mean, that's why not very many people live in the Great Basin, right? It's hard.
Right.
It's hard country to be in. It really is. It's hard to survive out here. Uh, but but yeah, and it's the same thing you were saying in Montana about the roads. Like I have so many people that ask me, okay, where can I go and take my living quarters? Because they're traveling from, usually the east and they want to come visit. I'm like, well, as far as living quarters go, you're pretty limited. If you got to take a tough stock trailer, there's this, the roads are so hard and tough, and don't forget a shovel because you're probably going to get stuck somewhere. We always got a shovel in the truck out here because, well, and we get these flash floods and stuff in the desert, and so it might have been a good road yesterday, but today it's gone. And you're rebuilding the road with a shovel. I've rebuilt a lot of roads with a shovel, so
Yes, and
it's
I
hard.
saw that in the Gila, here in July in the Shawnee. Oh God, it's hot and dry. And then that's rainy season there. And we saw that where a road, just rivers just come out of nowhere and just wash out roads. And we saw that in the Gila in July. So yeah, it's always good to talk to locals. They have the wealth of information on the area and what to expect. But yeah, and to be prepared, make sure you've got a little bit of everything. And yeah, stock trailer. That's why we take a wall tent and a stock trailer, because most of the roads, places we go, you can take a living quarters trailer. It's like Bishop Mule Days. We went one year, and we went with Rick Carmack, and we did some showing. It wasn't what we expect, and we just ran into some, I don't know, some snooty Californians and had a bad experience one day. And we decided, oh, we're out of here. We're going to go trail riding because we'd heard there was great trail riding around there. And so we, Carmack goes, well, let's take my tractor trailer and we'll go up this buttermilk road and up to these mountains where the guys and let's all go riding. Oh my gosh, that road, it wasn't a road. It was, I don't know what
Yeah.
for pothole. We ended up and then saved road. And then just when we thought, it dead ended, there was nothing. And he'd already ripped off the sewer under the bottom of his trailer. It was just torn to pieces. Finally, here's a trailhead and we ended up finding John Muir Wilderness. And just, we didn't even know it was up there. And oh my God, it was gorgeous riding and just had, and then we ended up that trip, we ended up just driving going on around. We went to Sequoia, we went to Road to Yosemite, which is phenomenal. And we just, it's like probably the only time I'm going to be in California, we're going to make the full gamut and ride everywhere. And just for, a week or two, we just rode, all those places. But finding John Muir Wilderness was pretty cool. Just something I hadn't planned. So sometimes you'll go looking for one thing and you find something else that's so much better. And that
Yeah.
just makes it worthwhile.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, I'd like to ride a lot of that country. There's some cool stuff. Right there in Bishop, the hard part if you go during mule days is all the high country is still closed. You can't get to the high country yet, up in the Sierras. I'd like to get up there one of these days. A
Right.
lot of cool country up there, I've heard, but I've been to Bishop a few times, and kind of for us, our main scene is trail mules and ranch mules and packers. So the packing
Yes.
stuff was really really fun. It was fun to watch all that. I didn't compete in any of the packing stuff, but it was fun watching all that. I enjoyed that, and some of the
I did
ranch mule
too.
stuff was fun. But yeah, yeah,
They had some great clinics. Yeah, they had some great clinics, a great packing clinic and a lot of things going on. But the showing, yeah, if I went back, I would do that again. Of course, me and my 1999 Rural King shirt compared to some of them was, but we just didn't have a real good experience. Some of the people were there were kind of, unfriendly. It's me and Tucker and we didn't enjoy the show group. But yeah, like you said, the trail riding group, the packing group, the clinics, the food, Tucker and the vendors, it's like, Tucker about broke me that week, but it was a cool experience. But the riding and the parade, that was really neat. Tucker and I rode in the parade, and he rode on the back of my mule, turned the other direction, playing his banjo. He played his banjo for an hour and a half,
nice.
and people were just clapping, and it was so cool. And seeing the Borax team, and so it was a really cool adventure. But I think our favorite part of California was probably riding and Yosemite, Sequoia, John, and the trail riding. But that's who we are. It depends on who you are. We all have different preferences, and I've done a lot of showing, even won second in the world in gated class once. But I'm just not a show. I'm a trail rider,
Hmm.
and so I have a harder time fitting in with some of those groups.
Yeah, there's the cool thing about the mule industry these days is there's something for everybody now. There's something whatever you're into, you know, whatever you're into. You can find it and it's fun. You can do all kinds of stuff. The versatility of the mule is pretty awesome.
It is
Uh,
awesome. They are awesome animals. Yes.
so you got any bucket list trips? You said Portugal and you said a couple of countries, but is there anywhere in the US
New
that's like
Zealand.
that you haven't been yet in the US that you're like, I gotta go there in the US?
Um, I want to go back to Washington and Oregon.
Hmm.
When I was there, it was very limited time frames. Once was with was teaching for Homeland Security. Once was Doug had an interview at Oregon State for a job there, and we kind of limited on time. But the both of those states are just gorgeous, and there's so much writing there, and so I really want to go back and explore those areas. I want to go down to Paul Garrison's ranch in Texas. His where he lives. He's invited me several times, and we've just never been down there. And so I want to go down there and ride. And also in Texas, um, along there where he is, Guatemala mountains. Want to ride. So those are, probably three I can think of I haven't been. I've been to Texas, but not in that part of it. And so, but I'm always hearing about new places that I want to try.
Oh
And
yeah, there's so much country here. Sky really wants to go right on a beach, and there's a place in Oregon. I can't remember what it was called, but there's some place in Oregon that is on her bucket list to go right on the beach.
yeah,
So
spring,
that's totally
spring.
different than anything we've ever done. I've never been on a beach with a mule.
I've done that quite a bit, but I'll tell you that the mules don't like it much. It takes some adjustment for them because,
Yeah,
unlike a pond, those waves, there's sound and there's movement, and the mules think there's something in there it's going to come out and eat them. So the
yeah,
first couple of times, it's quite an experience. But yeah, I might be doing that. Spring break actually. We work at the college here, and in March spring break, Calvin Bradshaw, mule friend of mine from California, has invited us out to ride in the Redwood Forest in Redwood National
cool.
Park, and then we might go over to the coast, not very far, and ride along the beach while we're there, depending on the weather. So looking forward to that. We'll be riding his mules for a change, so we can fly out and be back in a week. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, yeah, you'd be like me packing your saddle around on the airplane. That's what I do. Load up the saddle and here we go. So that'd be pretty cool. But
uh,
what
uh,
about you ever thought about Brazil? There's a lot of mules in Brazil. I got a huge following in Brazil. In
yes.
fact, a lot of people they're going to be listening to this and translating it to English because or to whatever they speak down
Oh,
there.
those Pega donkeys too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go there. Actually, am planning not this coming year, but the following year, 2026, going to Costa Rica. They have a mule festival in February, 1st of February, and so I'm planning on going to that. And there's usually a lot you know, um, of South American beautiful mules there. Just and they have contests and a race and so that'll be fun. And so I'm going to try to find some people there to let me ride their mules. But so I plan on going to that. But yeah, Brazil I would love to go to. Doug's worried about me going in there because he's afraid it's a little more dangerous. But Costa Rica, he's agreed to let me go. But yeah, the Brazilian mules, Pegasus donkeys. Oh my gosh, they're just gorgeous. A whole new elegant level of mule down there. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to get to Brazil. I was supposed to go in 2020. I was supposed to go a whole bunch of places in 2020, but then it got canceled out and I couldn't go. But I was supposed to go down there and do a clinic and that seems like a cool country. I kind of being from the rodeo world and stuff, I knew a lot of Brazilians. And that the ranching heritage down there is really big. So I think once you get out of the big cities, it's a pretty rural type of living down there. So that sounds cool to me. I'd like to do that one of these days, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
let me know. I might tag along. That would
there
be
you go.
that would be
Yeah,
great.
cool.
Yeah. But you're gonna have to, yeah, keep hold of my checkbook because I want to bring one of those Pegasus donkeys home with me. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that'd
That's the
be
hard thing. Go about to other countries and like at the mule sanctuary or that donkey sanctuary in Ireland. Oh, I wanted that mare, but I also wanted to just give a home to some of those mules. But the shipping cost to try to and quarantines and everything involved to try to buy an animal overseas is just unreal. So not wealthy enough for that, but boy, it's a dream.
heck yeah. Well, Angie, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got things to do this morning and got to get going and everything, but just a couple more things. There's a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and all my guests, uh, I have them give a word of advice at the end of our show. And it doesn't have to be horsemanship, mulemanship, mule training. It can be life advice or anything you want. But what's something that you'd like to tell my listeners going down this road of life? What's a piece of advice you could give them?
Oh well, we don't have that long, but any, but Um,
Well, I do.
I'll
I know you probably don't, but
I'll
I do.
take well, I'm going to steal a line from Toby Keith of "Don't let the old man or woman in." I see so many people who, and I was kind of there for a week or two last year when I had my accident. I wasn't really, I was in the hospital 16 days. I was in bad shape, and thought, oh my God, I'm never going to ride again. And you just get really depressed. I know a lot of us are getting older, or we have injuries or health problems, but don't let that mentality, and don't give up your mules. Don't give up your lifestyle. You may have to adjust it, but there's so much joy and reward, and it's who we are. So find a way to still do what you love to do. Don't give it up.
That's awesome. Actually, Angie, that's one of my pet peeves when people talk about being old. Like, and I know that come from me, that doesn't mean anything because I'm just a whippersnapper. I'm only 17, and just kidding. But when people talk about getting, how old they are, and when they want to sit around with each other and BS about how their knees hurt and their backs hurt and all that, like, get out there and go do stuff. It's like what you're doing. You guys are busy and you're active and you're engaged and you're doing stuff. And I think that's so important. Stay active. So that's a great piece of advice. I really appreciate that.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So,
Let me know your contacts in New Zealand.
oh yeah, yeah. Look up Ben Longwell, True West Horsemanship.
Okay.
You find him on social media, Ben Longwell. But he's a cool guy. He goes down there and spends the winter and with his wife's family and all that. But yeah, look him up. But Angie, there's a lot of people like me that like to follow you on your social media and on your adventures and in your articles. But tell them all your contact information. I know you got a website out there and you got other things going. And if they come to Shawnee, how do they find you? And give them all the scoop on how to find you, Angie.
Okay. We have a website. It's mayfieldmulefarm.com. Email is mayfieldmules@gmail.com. Yeah, if you're coming to Shawnee, look us up. I'm on Facebook too, Angie Mayfield. And or if you're High Knob, ask JoJo directions to the farm. But we're on Decker Spring Road, and near Elizabethtown, Illinois, and surrounded by Shawnee. Love it, but always traveling, always looking to hear about other people's adventures or places to go. So yeah, call and chat, email me, get on our website. But yeah, stay in touch and keep reading and keep riding those mules.
Heck yeah. Well, I'll be coming to Shawnee again next fall. So hopefully we can line up. I'd like to meet you and Doug and get to know you guys, and that'd be good. I'm coming to Vienna. Is that yeah, Vienna?
Yeah, Vienna, that's about 45
So
minutes.
yeah, Vienna. Yeah. So
Come on over.
anyways.
We'll sit around the campfire. Tucker can play his banjo, and we can, swap stories.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. Do you know Jared and Tara Beck? Do you know them?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Works
they're
for
our
them.
clinic hosts there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, they're awesome. We love those guys. But yeah, we'll have to try to meet up when we get out there in the fall. That'd be good.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Angie, so much. Appreciate you. And to all of you listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check Angie out, look her up, and get to know her. She's pretty cool. And if you don't subscribe to Mules and More magazine, you need to, and you'll get her articles every month. They're awesome. I've been reading them for years. So if you guys would be so kind to leave us a review, especially if you listen on Apple or Spotify. Um, we're into 5-star reviews, right, Angie?
That's right.
5 stars. So tell us what you think of the podcast. You can always leave a comment there. You can always contact me on my website, tsmules.com, or send me an email, ty@tsmules.com. Thanks, you guys. God bless you, and we'll see you down the road.